And it wasn't just small trees that fell down. I mean, look how massive this tree root is right here. The fact that the ice was just so heavy to bring it down is incredible. A Brownsville resident uncovered a human skull in their backyard while clearing away brush. Despite this cold weather, all of these nurses are out here. They are demanding higher wages and more staffing. Before Uvalde, before Parkland, and even before Columbine, there was the shooting here at Thurston High School. If you love heights, this is the place for you to be. If you take a look over here, we've got everything you could possibly imagine. Wildland firefighters in hand with these drones have the ability to save more lives, communities, and taxpayer dollars. After a nearly week-long manhunt for Sweet Home resident Gary Coomer, he was finally sentenced for sexually abusing his 4- and 8-year-old daughters. 3 groups of female motorists from Eugene are here, and this year's motto, just ride. The bill is really dividing Oregon residents. Some say they welcome this self-serve option, while others say they want to preserve gas attendant jobs and conveniency. Tonight we're learning more about a particular group of soldiers who made a massive difference in the war effort. Yonatai Mordechai Smirano, 21 years old. Raya Rotem, 54 years old. These are just some of the nearly 240 hostages that are currently being held by Hamas terrorists in Gaza. It's officially time to spring forward by 1 hour this weekend for the beginning of daylight savings time. But many in Oregon oppose a time change. They're literally skiing down the road.
Yeah, a lot faster than walking.
Well,
so
let's see how you do this. And he's off. The biggest takeaway he wants people to get from his film is that everybody has a unique story, and that refugees greatly contribute to the beautiful melting pot that is the United States. Now, the Egyptian foreign minister has confirmed that the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt is now technically open, but Americans fleeing Gaza say it's still closed. I met with instructor Natalie Whitson, who showed me some important self-defense skills she says that every woman should know. The Oregon Country Fair is back. For now, they're welcoming all of this weather and enjoying the fun slopes. Even though buildings like this post office here and housing were abandoned, Richard says that the most prominent mines were not. One of those mines is the Evening Star Champion, and it belongs to Hunter. During last week's cold temperature, the bees were bringing in pollen for the young to eat. So Brent was kind enough to allow us to try some of the honeycomb. Have you ever tried any? Toran Ibrahimi is a 3rd grade student at Cesar Chavez Elementary School. At just 8 years old, he already speaks 5 languages.
I speak Spanish, Portuguese, English, and Farsi and Uzbek.
Ibrahimi has picked up 3 of those languages along his journey since he left his home in Afghanistan, seeking refuge in the United States. He remembers the day Afghanistan fell to the Taliban 2 years ago.
I was walking in the street when I saw my friend. I said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Run." I said, "What happened?" And he just held my friend's hand and we just run together. And it says Taliban is here.
The 8-year-old hasn't spoken to his friend since that day when the U.S. withdrew all forces from Afghanistan. At the time, Toran was just 6 years old.
Coming to United States, it was so hard. You have to go to, it was 10 countries.
Ibrahimi and his family traveled to Iran, Brazil, and then trekked the treacherous Darien Gap before arriving in Oregon. The Darien Gap is a notoriously dangerous rainforest. Ibrahimi was one of 133,000 people who made this crossing in 2021.
And sometimes we didn't have something to eat. It was a hard time. I hate Taliban because they broke my country.
Despite the sadness he feels for his country and the people he's left behind, he loves his new home in Oregon. The best part, he says, is going to school.
The school is just not your friends. You're going to not a house with your not a family.
His friend family helps him learn English and adjust to American life. Erica White is his teacher at Cesar Chavez Elementary School. She says she's seen a boost in his confidence since he's become more fluent in English.
Being a teacher, you learn from your students almost as much as they learn from you,
including a perspective most of the other students don't have.
We were talking about September 11th. On September 11th, and they flashed up a picture of Afghanistan. He's like, "Mrs. White, I'm from there." He goes, "The Taliban broke my country." I almost started crying.
Taliban's come in and they break Like in September 11, some of them fall from a plane. It was nothing to do. Everybody was sad.
White says it's awesome to have a child with so much world knowledge in the classroom. Now, Ibrahimi helps her communicate with other non-English speaking students. Ibrahimi loves books and is the classroom librarian.
They can grow our brains. You know, the plants. And you can say, hey, we grow, because we read book and we grow.
He has big plans to go to college and already knows what he wants to do.
I want to be an astronaut.
In Eugene, I'm Juliette Smith reporting.
You ready to do this? Yeah. Me too.
91-year-old John Finney is finally checking off skydiving from his bucket list. It's something he has always wanted to do since he was in the Air Force during the Korean War. Finney served for 5 years, flying high in the sky and dropping cargo out of planes. He wasn't afraid to fly then, and he sure isn't afraid to fly now.
I'm not nervous about it. I'm just ready to jump.
He says some of his loved ones were a little hesitant to watch him freefall, but that's exactly what he's most excited for.
Some of them told me I was crazy.
That's crazy that he wanted to go.
But he sure isn't worried. He's feeling pretty strong and fearless. So why is he choosing to do this now? Finney's wife passed away last year, and he has just recovered from a bad case of COVID. He realized it was now or never.
Would you like to go with me?
No thanks.
No thanks.
His children, grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and members of his retirement community all came out to support him. His son says he wasn't too surprised his dad was finally ready to take the leap.
He's just a guy that enjoys life, never too old to do any of this.
Finney says it warms his heart to see his loved ones come out to support him.
You ready to do this? Yeah. Me too.
The fearless 91-year-old is now finally living out his dream.
This guy's a maniac up there. I didn't know how wild he was.
Getting out of the plane was a little trouble, but
Yeah, there's something about that door being opened up right there.
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Are you going to do it again?
I'd do it again anytime. Yeah,
He says everyone should do it.
especially if they're 91.
So what's next for the most adventurous 91-year-old in Eugene?
I'm going to do it again at 95.
All right.
And he's hoping his family will join him. After all, you can't let the fear of falling keep you from flying.
Take me skydiving. That was good. All right, let's go again someday.
In Eugene, I'm Juliette Smith reporting. I want to know what your initial thoughts on the attack were, and if it's at all changed your perspective on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
All the reports of murders and rapes and beheadings, you know, it's horrifying. They wish genocide. That's their desire for Israel. And we've seen it with these brutal killings this week.
I assume you've seen these images and brutal videos that you were just discussing. Do any of these images remind you of anything?
They remind me, of course, of the Holocaust. And my parents fled the Nazis. Not all got out. I lost family at Kristallnacht.
From a policy and political perspective, how do you assess the lack of progress that we've made since your father escaped Nazi Germany?
I think there are a whole host of reasons. Obviously, demographics are a big, part of that, with so many more individuals hostile to Israel. And I think we've got a big education job.
Realistically, are you confident that House Republicans can even secure a Speaker of the House and therefore secure more funding for Israel?
I think some of those House Republicans are just AWOL on democracy. I mean, here we are, facing a whole host of major challenges. I was pleased to see that some of the senior House Republicans, people with national security positions, had come out for their leadership. There's talk about should they form a coalition with Democrats and this kind of thing.
So you are or you're not confident that we are able to secure a House Speaker sometime soon?
I'm not a member of the House of Representatives. I mean, every day in the House of Representatives continues to surprise me.
Who do you think would be the most pro-Israel candidate for Speaker? And what is your assessment on how much support there is amongst your Senate colleagues for military aid?
Well, they're all over in the House claiming to be supportive of Israel. So I'll let people analyze voting records and stuff like that. In the Senate, we have very strong bipartisan support for Israel.
If Congress doesn't get their act together, is there a way an executive branch or State Department could find another way to secure aid for Israel?
Well, that's an if question, and my answer is Congress sure as hell better get its act together.
Do you doubt our U.S. intelligence at this time due to this attack?
I have no detailed, specific information.
Do you think it's realistic that other nations, Arab nations, like Egypt, take in Palestinian civilians at this time as Israel tells them to leave and find safety?
I'm very troubled about what the other countries are doing. I think they ought to be supportive.
Do you agree with Israel's decision to cut off all supplies and electricity to Gaza?
I'm not going to dictate, my sense. Israel has got to focus on protecting itself from a group that wishes genocide on them.